What's going on, guys? Sticks here with the Token Minorities, bringing you Week 7 of Season 2 of the APA Showdown Little Cup League, and this week we are up against Ultraplayer and his Philadelphia Soldu. And before I get into the team, just a reminder that if you guys like this video, please leave a like, drop a comment, click that subscribe button, as it helps us out a lot and lets us do more cool stuff for you guys. Now, as for my opponent, like I said, we are up against Ultraplayer and his Philadelphia Soldu, and I will link his channel in the description. I encourage you guys to check him out. But his team consists of Spritzy, Bronzor, Bagon, Dwebble, Duskull, Totodile, Darumaka, Bergmite, Bounsweet, and Rockruff. Now, this is going to be one heck of a matchup because you might notice he has the best fairy type in all of Little Cup, and I don't have a single fairy type resist in my entire draft. So yeah, right off the bat, that's going to be a little bit tricky to deal with, especially because my team is very heavy offense, and what deals with hyper offense? Well, Trick Room deals with hyper offense really well, and what's an amazing Trick Room fairy type? Spritzy. The rest of his team is threatening. If I underestimate things like Bagon, particularly Dwebble, Totodile, Darumaka, those things will be huge threats, but mainly I need to deal with the Spritzy. If I can deal with the Spritzy, I feel like I have enough to be able to take on the rest of his team. I'm not going to say easily, but much more easily than the Spritzy. So my whole game plan is to try to keep Spritzy from being able to do a heck of a lot of work against me, and then still being able to open up doors, open up holes in his team with the rest of my team. Just maybe put the pressure on to where Spritzy can't maybe get a Trick Room up, but Spritzy's bulky enough that it's going to be able to get up a Trick Room. That's the issue. You're not going to be able to one-hit KO Spritzy. I'd have to run Z Pawnyard or Poisonium Z Krogunk, and unfortunately Krogunk, while it's Z in this matchup, cannot afford to run the Poisonium, so that's just an unfortunate situation, but we are going to deal with it the best we can. The first mon that I'm going to be bringing is my Pawnyard, and truth be told, this is my Spritzy answer. I bit my tongue while trying to say that. What the heck? Yeah, this is my way of trying to deal with Spritzy. A pretty bulky Pawnyard. I'm able to, I believe, guaranteed live a modest Z Moonblast from full. That's what I went for in Spadef. If he's not modest Z Moonblast, well then I can potentially live a +2 Moonblast, or if it's Life Orb, then I just kind of get blown away by +2. But yeah, Pawnyard's my main way of dealing with Spritzy. That being said, Pawnyard has an amazing matchup. Just Knockoff is ridiculously spammable. The only thing on his team that he has that resists Knockoff is Spritzy, and Knockoff into Ironhead should definitely be able to kill almost any variant but the most defensive, especially if rocks are up. Then that just puts me in a much better position. So yeah, Pawnyard be able to knock off and Ironhead his team looks really, really good, especially knock off the potential Cobra Berry that I'm expecting from Bronzor. If Bronzor is not Cobra Berry, I will eat my hat. I'm fully expecting Bronzor to be Cobra Berry, and so just being able to knock that off so that my Krogunk can go ham later in the game would be very, very nice. Or even just set up Pawnyard to be able to double knock off for the knockout, as HP fighting from a defensive Bronzor will only do 70, I believe it's 59 to 72, I think was the roll that I calced out. So yeah, that's the Pawnyard. Next up is going to be my Revenge Killer in a Choice Scarf Cutie Fly with Sticky Web, Bug Buzz, Moonblast, and Trick. And truth be told, Sticky Web is the main reason I'm running Cutie Fly, and the best way to get up Sticky Web is to just Choice Scarf it and be like, yeah, Sticky Web, here we go, cool. And even though I might die in response, if I get up Sticky Web, then that's good enough for me. Although being able to spam Bug Buzz and Moonblast from a modest Cutie Fly is still a very solid option. And then Trick is to cripple something like Spritzy or Bronzor or Bergmite late game that try to stall out my team. If my ways of breaking those mons down get knocked out in one way or another, then Cutie Fly will be able to come in, trick them, potentially get an Eviolite or something like that. Just shift around items on his team, maybe lock one of his defensive mons in to a move that it doesn't want to be locked into, and that can put me in an advantageous position. But again, if Cutie Fly just comes in, gets up Sticky Web, and gets knocked out, that's kind of what I'm going for, because even though I did say that Trick Room, deterring Trick Room is going to be my main way, and Sticky Web doesn't necessarily do that, Sticky Web plus Bunnelby can put me in an absolutely incredible position. Next up is going to be my main Dwebble answer in a very defensive Kabuto with Aqua Jet, Knockoff, Rapid Spin, and Rock Slide with a Violite and Weak Armor. If he tries to go for like an Earthquake, immediately Rock Blast, even though it will lower my Weak Armor, or it'll lower my defense because of Weak Armor. Unless he gets like 5 hits, and then even so, I think he might need a crit on one of the hits to knock me out. I'm not fully sure on the calc, but I just know that Kabuto is ridiculously tanky in this game. I think, yeah, I calc something absurd, like a Gyro Ball from Bronzor at neutral does 1 damage to me. Like, it literally does a single damage if I calc that correctly. Like, that's just insane how bulky Kabuto can be. And then Aqua Jet plus Knockoff being able to pick off his big threats, Rock Slide be able to weaken his stuff as well, and the fact that his main threats, apart from Spritzy, are physical. I can switch in, or I can, come in on them, take a hit as I knock them off, and then because of my weak armor, I will be able to outspeed them the next turn and go for like a Rock Slide or something a little bit stronger. So yeah, Kabuto, very, very important in this game. It's also my hazard deterrent, as I am thinking that he could lead with Dwebble and just try to hazard stack me right off the bat, as that would put him in a pretty good position if he's able to get up like rocks and a couple layers of spikes or something like that, or just lead with Dwebble and try to set up. So Kabuto going to be very, very important in this game. Like, preserving this thing will be the difference between winning and losing. It'll potentially be the difference between winning and losing, because this thing is really, really important for his myriad of offensive and physically offensive threats. Next up is going to be a really, really risky bring on my end. So I'm bringing Bunnelby with only return Earthquake and Quick Attack, as well as substitute, because I feel like I can force switches on his end. And keep in mind, this Bunnelby does not touch his Duskull. Like, his Duskull is 100% can switch in and wall the absolute crap out of this Bunnelby, and even Bronzor to a lesser extent, although because I'm thinking that it won't be a Violite, it still won't like taking return, but it's still like, it resists my best way to hit it. So this is a high risk, high reward bring on my end. Like, I'm banking off the fact that my combination of Mons will be enough to deter Duskull from coming, and also Bronzor will be pressured enough to check my Pawniard, check my Krogunk, to where it won't be healthy enough to take on my Bunnelby as well. So like, this is just kind of a, alright, I think he's going to have to, his Mons are going to be pressured. Like, his answers to Bunnelby are going to be insanely pressured by the rest of my team, to where I think if I just run this risky Bunnelby set, it can pay huge dividends, because even in and of itself, Life Orb Quick Attack from Bunnelby is great for picking off like a Trick Room Spritzy, a -1 Dwebble that's weakened, a weakened Totodile, a weakened Darumaka, like all of those. Great for picking them off. Earthquake and Return just hit the rest of his team insanely hard. So very high risk, high reward. I'm hoping that Bunnelby will be able to put in some work. Next up is a Mon that I am positive is going to do something. Like, if Krogunk doesn't do something, kind of like Kabuto, like if Krogunk's not able to do stuff, then this is going to be a very rough matchup, because Special Krogunk really goes in against him. Like, the best thing he has for a Special Krogunk is Bronzor and Duskull, and what do I have for both of those? I have Darkinium Z. So that's going to be very big, making sure my Krogunk is able to take those out. And like, basically this is a lure for both the Duskull and the Bronzor, as those will be what he tries to use to check my Bunnelby and also my Krogunk. So my Krogunk should pave the way for Bunnelby. Just stay in right off the bat, go for a knockoff, get rid of something's item on the switch, get rid of like a Cobra Berry from Bronzor or Duskull, and then blow it away with Dark Pulse. So yeah, Krogunk's there for the lure, but also Sludge Bomb works very nicely against his team, particularly with Spritzy, and also having a strong priority attack in Vacuum Wave, much like Bunnelby's Quick Attack, is good for revenging some of his bigger threats. Finally, we have a defensive Sandygast with Berry Juice, and while I would really, really like this thing to be a Violite, unfortunately I just did not have room on it with this team. Both Pawniard and Kabuto need the Violites much more for like very, very specific calcs. So Sandygast was just kind of like a, well, alright, what do I want to run? I thought about Colbur for a while, but then I was thinking, okay, nah, I mean, that's just like a little bit of overkill with the Dwebble checking. as I already have my Pawnyard that can take a hit, I have my Kabuto that can take a +2 Earthquake, I have my Bunnelby and my Krogunk to be able to hit that thing with strong priority, and if Sticky Web is up, then I have my Cutiefly to be able to revenge once he gets up to +1. So I had plenty for the Dwebble, so I just ultimately went with Berry Juice as not needing a turn to go for Shore Up and not wasting a turn, just using that turn to go for like an Earth Power or a Shadow Ball or Stealth Rock just will give me a much better chance of being able to come out victorious in that given exchange and hopefully in the game. Now, the reason that I do have Shore Up and the reason I do have Sandygast is because Sticky Web is important enough to where I want to block his potential spin in his Bergmite. Like, if he has Bergmite and it tries to spin, well, then my Sandygast can potentially beat it 1v1. Like, it's tricky because Avalanche, I have to pick and choose really, really carefully when I go for that, and I just, like, yeah, I can't attack him into an Avalanche. That just doesn't work out well for me. So it's tricky, but it just means that he can't freely spin, and that's ultimately what I'm going for. So, yeah, that is the team, and let's just go ahead and hop right on over to the battle. Alrighty, here we are in the battle, and the first thing I'm noticing is that there is no Bagon, and there is no Duskull. So two things that I was, like, kind of had in the back of my mind as potential issues, like maybe like a Choice Scarf Bagon or even just a Dragon Dance set, and then Duskull being able to be immune to Bunnelby's main stab in return, and also I think Duskull even has Levitate, so like, yeah, just I was really banking on Duskull not coming, so seeing that thing not here, well, seeing that thing not be brought is a huge relief. That means that Bunnelby can potentially do some action, wow, can do some work, but unfortunately we do see the Bronzer, so I do have to take that thing out. But considering the amount of stuff that I have to pressure that thing, once I get that thing low, well, once I get that thing gone, or even just low, because I'm anticipating it to have the Cobra Berry, as I don't think it can afford to run like a Berry Juice or Eviolite in this specific matchup, I think that Bunnelby can do a ton of work if I'm able to get Rocks up, and maybe if I'm even able to get a Sticky Web up, Bunnelby can do the work. But seeing his team, I am just going to lead off with my Kabuto, as that was the plan all along. No matter what he led with, Kabuto was the best lead for me, as he does lead off with his Dwebble. And I mean, I knew exactly what I was going to do from the very beginning. Just go for the knockoff. Lead Kabuto. If he leads Dwebble, go for the knockoff. Get rid of his Berry Juice, get rid of his Eviolite, whatever, and go from there. Now I knock off, and nothing gets knocked off. That should have been an absolutely gigantic flashing red sign that, hey, maybe I should scout out this set. Maybe I shouldn't just leave my Kabuto in on this turn. So first of all, the fact that he went for Spikes over Stealth Rock tells me that this is a dedicated hazard lead Dwebble. Like, the fact that he doesn't have, like, I mean, just Stealth Rock and Shell Smash and then, like, Edgequake would be good for my team, but the fact that he has Spikes and clearly he is intending on getting more Spikes up kind of indicates to me that this Dwebble is obviously a lead. And yeah, going for knockoff, seeing that he is the Z, and seeing that, like, Totodile can't have, well, not necessarily the Z, but I mean, if Dwebble doesn't have an item that can get knocked off, it's going to be Z, which means that he can't be like Farium Z Spritzy, he can't be like Flinium Z Totodile. So I should have known that this Dwebble had something up its sleeve for my very obvious Kabuto and Sandygast responses, but unfortunately, I didn't bother scouting that out, and he is going to absolutely blow me back with a turn 2 Bloom Doom. I mean, yeah, just Kabuto, real gone, my spinner's gone, my main answer to Dwebble, to Darumaka, to Totodile gone, just because I didn't scout. So very, very big turn 1. Like, that sucked. I should have scouted with like Pawnyard or something like that, or even just led Pawnyard and tried to knock off into Ironhead or something like that. But either way, this does give me the chance to go into my Sandygast to get up the rocks, as I think that they will be very helpful in this matchup. As, I mean, he's going to get up all 3 layers of Spikes. That's not a huge deal, as it's going to do 25% to my entire team, and like, yeah, it does kind of suck a little bit, maybe changes 1 or 2 calcs, but the fact that I did get my rocks up, my Sandygast is still completely healthy, and I was able to get rid of his Dwebble is considering the fact that I lost my Kabuto turn 2, it's kind of the best situation I could have hoped to come out of that turn 2 with. Like, going into turn 4, if you had told me this was a situation, I would have been like, no, you're crazy, I hate that. But given what transpired and how badly he blew me away with a Bloom Doom, I was like, okay, well, you know what, this is good enough. I think I can be able to salvage this from there. So his Dwebble goes down, he goes into Totodile, and I'm thinking he's just going to try to DD up right off the bat. So I'm going to go straight for the Earth Power, try to wear this thing down into range of my priority, as that is precisely what he does. And now, considering I'm in the back, considering that my main answer to this Totodile is gone, like I have nothing on my team that can take one of a given hit, like maybe Pawniard can, but I mean if this thing has Brick Break, Pawniard's dead, and it's now faster than everything except my Cutie Fly, and then Cutie Fly obviously can't switch in, but it is also in range of my priority. So considering that I don't think he's gonna try to predict the aerial, or predict and go for Aerial Ace in turn 6, like he's already put himself in a commanding position. I don't think he needs to predict, and I don't think he will predict another time. I don't think he'll try to call me on this one. So I'm going to pull the switch into my Krogunk, as luckily for me, he does go for the Waterfall. If he went for Aerial Ace right there, it might have just been GG, because then I would have lost my Krogunk, and it would have been like still would have been a 4-on-6, and I could have revenged his Totodile immediately with either my Cutie Fly or my Bunnelby, but still, it would have just put me in a horrendous position, and much preferable to have my Krogunk at full health and able to revenge his Totodile. He does go for the Protect, which I guess let him scout out like Quick Attack or Sucker Punch or something like that, help stall that out. But fortunately for me, because he apparently was a Life Orb variant of Totodile, I was able to knock that out. And now we are at 4-5, and I'm still in a very healthy position with all of my mons. Yes, 3 layers of spikes are up, but I do have rocks up on his side. Well, 2 of his 4 biggest threats rather, are gone. Still got to worry about the Darumaka and the Spritzy, but the Bergmite and the Bronzor really aren't that too huge of a deal, as I do think that I have the mons that allow me to take them on and beat them. But given that this Bronzor is in, I'm thinking that, okay, he might just try to get up rocks. I can go straight into my Sandy Gas and start firing off Shadow Balls, as he actually goes for Earthquake, which procs my Berry Juice, which gets me back up to full health, and now I can just spam Shadow Ball, as it's super effective against Bronzor. I can wear that down, put it in range of Bunnelby as he goes into his Bergmite, and I get the lucky Spadef drop, which will allow me to outspeed and KO this thing with an Earth Power. Now, no two ways about it, very fortunate and put me in a much more commanding position, because essentially he just lost his Bergmite for nothing. Like, the special defense drop in conjunction with rocks was enough for Earth Power to be able to take him down, and had I not gotten the Spadef drop, I could have tried to stay in, maybe fish for Spadef drops with both Earthquake, or with both Earth Power and Shadow Ball, or I could have gone into my Krogunk, gone for knockoff, and then just started fishing for poisons or just getting rid of items, etc., etc. So I had options if I did not get the Spadef drop, but no two ways about it. That Spadef drop put me back in the driver's seat, in my opinion. But now he's going to go into his Darumaka. I'm thinking that my Sandy Gas has done a good job. I'm just going to let it go down to whatever this Darumaka has, as he crits me with the Fire Punch. Not a huge deal, all things considered, as another Fire Punch will be able to knock me out. But that Earth Power does reveal that this Darumaka is Eviolite. So the fact that I did so little to Bergmite with Shadow Ball and Earth Power reveals to me that Bergmite's Eviolite. And then the fact that this Darumaka lived my Earth Power reveals that this thing is Eviolite as well. So I already know where his 2 Eviolites are, which means that Spritzy's not Eviolite and Bronzor's not Eviolite. Bronzor, I mean, if it's not Colbur, I will be insanely shocked. So, I mean, that kind of was just kind of a given right there. Spritzy, I'm trying to figure out what type of set it is. If it's a Berry Juice set, or is it a Life Orb boosting type of set? Because Spritzy's going to be Trick Room. If he's not Trick Room, well, then I kind of just sweep him, no questions asked. But if he's not Trick Room, yeah, I just sweep him, no questions asked from this point, and it's just a very straightforward and easy win for me. If he is Trick Room, then I need to figure out what his item is and what set he is. Now, that damage on Darumaka put me in a really difficult spot. So it ended up being absolute min damage from Earth Power. So I mean, that was just kind of the roll. I mean, that's Little Cup rolls for you. But because I got absolute min, I couldn't figure out what this Darumaka's spread was, because it could very easily just be like a regular attacking version with a little bit of HP, and then just Eviolite, and I got the minimum roll, which was what ended up happening. But there was a small possibility that he could have been like a Spadef variant to try to take on my Cutiefly and the Krogunk. Like, it made enough sense to where I did not feel comfortable just going into Krogunk, knocking this thing out with Vacuum Wave, and then Zing the Bronzor and Sledge Bombing the Spritzy. So unfortunately, instead of being able to just go Krogunk and knock it out, which I would have been able to do, I go into my Pawniard because that's a safe play. I will just be able to go for the knockoff, able to knock out the Darumaka, and then Bronzor wants to come in. Cool, HP Fighting will not be able to KO me from here, but he goes into Spritzy. I'm going to go straight for the Iron Head, try to see what item this thing is, as he does not end up being the Berry Juice, and he goes for the Trick Room. So now, with Spritzy in, and you can see I go for the Sucker Punch, with Spritzy in and Trick Room up, I still have no idea what item this thing is. So Spritzy can run multiple new moves against me. Like, Moonblast is technically all it needs, as I don't have any resist to it. Like, straight up, I do not have any fairy resists at all. So he could very easily just be mono Moonblast. However, he could also be an HP Fighting, or he could also be carrying HP Fighting and or Psychic. So those are moves that I really have to scout out. Moonblast will not be able to KO me from here. I know he's not Z because of Dwebble. Obviously, he's not a Eviolite because both Darumaka and Bergmite had the Eviolites. So I don't know what this Spritzy is. I know I did a heck of a lot of damage to where he's not Berry Juice, and I just had to figure out what his item is and what his moveset is. Now, going for Sucker Punch here, if he was a Trick Room 3 attack set, then I just killed him, unless he decided to reverse the Trick Room, in which case I killed him next turn. So, woo, good for me. If he's like a 2 attack set, like if he had Wish, Moonblast, and HP Fighting or something like that, then I would be able to just Sucker Punch as he went for the Wish. Well, that's another turn of Trick Room stalled out, and all I need to do is stall out Trick Room for my Pawniard to be able to win, assuming I don't let him get back up to full health. So going for Sucker Punch was just kind of a no drawback play. He ends up revealing the Wish as I do fail the Sucker Punch, and I'm going to go for it once again, as, I mean, again, I have no reason to try to overpredict. Even if he does recover up with this Wish, well, I'll still be able to knock him out with Iron Head, and now at this point, I'm going to click Protect of my own, because if he wanted to go for Wish, he's stalling out his own Trick Room, and then we can always just do the rinse repeat of Iron Heading once the Trick Room is not up, as he has to try to set it up again, and I can potentially flinch him to win the game. But also, this just lets me scout out what type of move he wants to go for. If he goes for Hidden Power Fighting, well, then that's going to kill me. If he goes for Moonblast, I will be able to live, as he does show that his move of choice against my Pawniard is the Moonblast. I know I'm going to be able to live that, so I'm just going to go straight for the Iron Head, knock out this Spritzy. Trick Room is gone. If Bronzor wants to come in and try to set up Trick Room of his own, I have plenty of things to be able to deal with that, especially because I'm about to pop the Cobra Berry with my knockoff right here. And really, I'm just in a good position to win the game at this point. I do knock off his Cobra Berry, does about 45%. He knocks me out with Earthquake, but this does allow my Krogunk to come in and just click my Z move, absolutely blow away this Bronzor. And whether I clicked Z knockoff or Z Dark Pulse, the world will never know, because both knocked him out, and I'm not going to say which one I knocked him out with, but either way, we are able to take the 3-0 win against Ultra. So man, that was one heck of a game. Like, the Bloom Doom Dwebble right off the bat put me on such a back foot that I just had to make the Krogunk play. And once that play was made, it put me in a much better position. Like, I had to play risky. Like, those 2 consecutive turns, like, he could have knocked out my Sandygast right off the bat with his Totodile, just gone for a Waterfall, knocked it out, no questions asked, and I'm left without any sort of bulk whatsoever to try to take on his team. And then if he had predicted my Krogunk on the incoming, well, then my Krogunk's down, and even though I would be able to revenge him, still not nearly as good of a position as I could have been in. So 2 ballsy-ish turns on my end ended up paying off huge. We are able to win the game, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.